So the stream has started. We have announced on... Oh, I have to turn the audio off on Twitch so that I don't hear myself and cause problems. As in feedback loops, so we're going through that. No, no one's here yet, but just talking to myself. Okay. So let's see, do a little more, maybe maintenance before starting an episode. Okay, let's click over to, okay, I can do that. East front. West of front. Okay, let's go over here. Who's showing? Kutchler. Let's also give these to Kutchler and send them on here. These guys are also going over there, so they'll go to Kutchler for now.
Zum Ausrücken.
Okay.
Befehle. Bereit. Bereit zum
Only
Ausrücken.
directly under on Rundstedt command. There we go. Okay, that is good. And let's come over here. And been using a lot of that. That's army, army, that's army. Well. And color, let's change this to white. Okay. Alright, that looks good. Well, okay, we're getting ready for an episode here. Okay, looks good. Okay, well, let's start an episode here now. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 Waking the Tiger DLC. Many of you may have already seen other people play it, though this is sort of the first look that I'm doing, second episode. You may, if you watched the previous episode, know that I was having connectivity problems. My ISP was the problem, so that is hopefully not going to be an issue today. So we're going to continue and hopefully have a nice session while I'm playing. If you haven't already, please follow me over on Twitch. Subscribe over on YouTube. Love to have you around more often. Just did some basic army management. So we can see here now. We have this front here. Now we can move one of these. Oh no, cancel. How do you? maybe once you assign them, you can't unmove very easily without disbanding them or something. I don't know. But they can be in the front, or you can actually put them under the field marshal here. And so von Rundstedt can have up to 4 sub-command, or your 5 sub-commanders, 4 currently. That's sort of correct and straight. Okay, you come over here. On a sea voyage. See the Baltic. See the Baltic Sea. I wonder how much that confused people who are learning English. And they go through his command. And we can do this. And he will sort of parcel them out. Oh, why the hell are you there? I don't know. Well, maybe because they weren't selected when I gave the orders, that would be why. Yes. Amelia Earhart circumnavigates the globe this time. Yay. Well, hello all out on Twitter. Good to see you there. Say hi if you like. So, have some clue as to who may be watching if I like to get to know the people. If you're all new. There we go. Now, you're just looking for somebody to spread divisions out along a border and try to hold it. These commands are not bad at all. We have decisions available. MIFO bills in 75 days. We're going to let that go for a little while longer. We've got a decent amount of political power, but okay, leadership. Well, I'll pause. Ban declare war on drinking over leadership purges. Evidence of corruption inherent in communism. Okay. Extra research slot. Great. We like that. We're going to do air innovations next. So we're getting that. Now, extra research. So we have, and we're in 37, the middle of it. Let's do paratroopers. And we have some free ICs to build more things. Okay, I only have one available, or something like that. Or 2, or I don't want to fill up all my coastal provinces, so we'll stick that there. Oh, 3 total more. Okay, and we'll put one right here just to keep it away from the bombing likelihoods, at least from the west. Let's slow this down just a little bit. Slow the roll a little bit. Okay. Chinese United Front, United joins. They all join the United Front. Good, 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 good. And there's war on China. So we'll see how that goes. They're doing United Front, and we'll see about this coming in. Marco Polo Bridge incident. I think that happened before the start of it, but well. I am very curious to see how the AI is doing. We're going to wait till we get a bit more, just don't want to have none for that. Now we can actually ban, okay, so before we can do anti-democratic raids, anti-communist raids, they banned, of course, the Nazis, democratic parties and communist parties, or communism or whatever, cost 100, daily support, Engine popularity of communists. So our current, well, we can go to extensive conscription. We can't really either that or that at the moment. I think we'll probably go with Messerschmitt there, but we'll let this build up a little more. Oh, hey, Ads, how you doing? Weinget, sorry, even simple German eludes me. I presume that's German. Is that what's up or something? Ah, me? I'm doing good. And how are you today? Now that we sort of have a bit of a cushion, let's look at, we're going to do aircraft designer, I think, because that will help your research time. If I'm not mistaken, we will be at some point here, obviously at some point, but well, it's not until 40, so maybe we'll delay the aircraft designer. Yes, we will be building the Greater Germanic Reich, unless I do terrible. 39 for artillery. So used to playing Black Ice even in this. It's coming down to a little bit more simple. Yeah, it's a little ahead of time here currently. Special Forces. Yeah, let's see here. Artillery, small arms. We'll go with Rheinmetall. So Rheinmetall was the designer and at least initial manufacturer of the MG-34, the machine gun. So I know they're just. Hello, Oakman. How you doing? Uh-oh, what am I got wrong on Twitch? I very well could be. Oh, Farron, Arvidas, and Steiner there as well. Just saying hi to everybody. Okay, we have more factories available both to build and to build things with. What are our current deficits? Okay, nothing currently deficited, which is great. which is great. And so what we're going to do is come over here and build something else. We've got anti-tank being built. We could build anti-aircraft guns, I guess, yes. Trying not to overly... We're getting close to needing more rubber. Well, we need more rubber, so we might as well trade for it. If it's like less than 4 or whatever, I normally don't bother with it. Uh-oh. Did I? Our gamer on YouTube. Ah, I see. Ah, I see where you're talking about edit panels. Okay. Right. You are right. Ah, yes. Thank you. Submit. There we go. Now we're back. There we go. Thanks so much. Oak man, see things I don't notice. Very good. Yes, I should, and it will help with productivity. But what one thing I'm, instead of just building, which is most assuredly a good thing to do, I'm planning on using at least some of this here with the Reichsbahn at some point soon, which I'm thinking next. We don't need the West Wall until we're getting ready to go to war. So, obviously, you know, a little bit before that. 37, we don't need it. This can help us get Hungary and Romania, of course. Treaty with the USSR, that will help us when we get ready to research better armor, but so we don't need that quite yet. This will, so it's like, I'm going to wait till 38 to do on Slush. Well, I don't know if we're going to puppet Hungary and Romania, but we will try to get them into the Axis for sure. You can get in, obviously, we could try to get in, get in Austria early now that we have a large enough army. One of the reasons not to is for long-term gain, because we can look at, let's go, diplomacy, Austria. They're doing this focus as intervention focus. Don't know why they're doing that, but what we sort of hope is that they do some of these industrial focuses and increase their infrastructure. So yes, that's exactly. So we're looking at doing some of that, and I want a couple more of these to cover some of our trades. And so I want to hopefully have them continue to build out a better Austria, and we take it away from them in 38. Oh, did we mess that up? No, good. Yes, now that that's coming, okay. We'll do this one. improved machine tools. Great. Now, air innovations will be done fairly soon, so, well, yeah, let's go with this. Form the Pact of Rome, right? The Three Powers Pact. Yeah, they might, but I hope, well, that'd be interesting if they did, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, let's... no, maybe not. Well, since we have some more, let's... And... Okay, we should see about spending some of this. Well, let's click on our Officer 4 selection here. Rommel, what can we improve with him? No, I don't want to do I want to do improved expert, not that, so we don't want to do that. Is that it? Okay, Monstein, Fortress Buster or Scavenger. We're gonna do Fortress Buster. And student, what would be the... Okay, well, we can do camouflage expert or skirmisher. Let's go with skirmisher. Yeah, I know it would stop us from doing Onslush, but I don't think it'll happen. I'm counting it won't happen, but it might happen. But I don't know. We'll see. Go back and do it. Hello, Aprath84. How you doing? We're continuing down the Nazi route here. The historical route, if you will. Not that I like to think of myself as the Nazi, but historical. All this is cool over here, but it's unrealistic to have happened and starting in 36. So most of the time, I'm not going to be doing that when I play, and not this time. Ah, Victoria. Yeah, I haven't played much of Victoria. I played it a little bit. It's a good game. Oh, Oh, I know what you mean. You mean Princess Victoria, Victoria Louise or whatever. Yeah, it's sort of a bit of a hidden Easter egg. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, yes. I get you now. I get you. I get what you mean. Yes, I do know about that. Okay. Well, I want to build a airbase there, but after that is complete, we're building some more trees. Yeah, it's hard. I know. I haven't tried to do that, but I do know what you're talking about now that I got my head in the right place. I'm sure there's a way to cheat it in. I haven't looked.
Angetreten.
Well, I don't know about console. Yeah, sort of. Or just go in and edit things. That's sort of my way of doing things, is just going in and edit things. Okay, so we've got aero innovations, which are going to help us research that. And then what I think we're going to go for is, well, we're going to go Reichsbahn. Get that infrastructure up. And how are we doing for production? Okay. Infantry equipment, artillery, support equipment, tanks, light tanks, yes, good. Okay, we have lots of trucks. So what we're going to do here is add a unit, add a unit. We're going to do that. That will help out there. I'm going to add a unit here, I think, as well. And, got in here, let's... Yeah. More anti-tank guns.
Achtung.
Okay.
Befehle.
Now, select all,
Achtung.
and we're going to come here. Okay, radio detection. We have that now. Good. And now that we come over here, now that we have air innovations, there we go. We've got our Polish border currently taken care of. Our current border with Poland. Yeah, puppets are useful. I just sort of have a desire to play a bit more historically based
Bereit zum Ausrücken.
most of the time.
Ausrücken.
And now we can also here is attach an air unit, I believe, and if we wanted to say attach these to Guderian, they will, now this group will support Guderian's movements. So that would give them much bigger impact. Or it should. Let's see, we even have G's for his core.
Zuhören. Ausrücken.
Let's speed this back. Oh, let's take a look at what's happening over in China. Just really curious to see how this new AI is working out currently. Oh, good. So Japan has done a naval invasion. It was smart enough to do that. By seeing the contacts, China has responded to it. Oh, pause. This is all Beijing, I believe, right? Well, yeah, Manguko. So they're all coming in through there. So they're doing pretty smart, pretty well. Coming around, because so many times I've seen them, you know, stuck here forever. And they were smart enough to do a naval invasion. That's very good. Very, very good. Glad to see that. Okay. Now, let's come over here. We're still in 37. Yeah, let's go for it. We want more resources, 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 resources. Hey, ads, is the stream doing much better than last week's? Speed, reliability. Okay, very good to hear. I presumed it was because no one was complaining, but just wanted to make sure. Heart attack, reliability, self-attack. Greater reliability. We'll go with initial. Let's see, Spain is still being hard fought, it looks like. And we have ship redockyards, okay. So all that we currently have now are our submarines, which we have on basically continuous production. Is good because we want submarines. But, let's do some more destroyers. Oh, come on. There we go. Now we should have up down here. Okay, another battleship up to here. And we'll leave that as a flotilla, large flotilla for subs. More. Okay. Now that we have that. Let's build some radar. Should I? Send Franco some aid. Yeah, that could be fun. We could do that. So let's...
Cool.
Well, I think we're going to be able to send 3 units. So let's... what do these look like? The template. Okay, they're pretty good. Let's do... No, let's do everything like this. Unassign. Okay, then let's see if we can aid Franco out. You're talking about this, send attaché. Yeah, I haven't played around with this really yet. Bolton higher military cooperation, give us benefits. It will cost us, we have that, we need more political power. We can't do that quite yet, but we can send volunteers. Oh, we could send 5. Well, let's improve Guderian's group. Oh, come on. We'll give them 2 more infantry divisions. Unselect, yes. And Guderian, so it's not all motorized, but send volunteers. Finds Guderian. Send those. Well, if we can, maybe send those if Spain is no longer in the war. Send them to fight over in China. MIFO bills, that's sort of what I'm waiting for. Okay. Gotta click the envelope, yeah. Okay, so now we are here. There's some Italians up there too, it looks like. Oh, might as well. Reichsbahn, good. Those territories claim more than... Okay. Italy wants Yugoslavia, parts thereof. Okay, German war economy, which is different, which is either that or integrate economies. We're going to go down, I think I want to go down this path. I mean, this looks great, but I want to get these guys in. So, always tempting. December. What is Austria doing now? Construction effort. Okay, well, we'll wait till they get this construction effort 3. So they're already down to here, so they've gone through some various things to get there. So we'll wait on that, but treaty with the USSR sounds like a plan. in a war. Okay, well. Going in on the attack of Barcelona. Stay in and take it. Okay, everybody on Twitch, just stay right where you are, but those of you on YouTube watching this later, thanks so much for watching, thanks for liking the videos, I really do appreciate that, and if you haven't already, follow me over on Twitch so you can find out when I'm playing live again, and of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron. Okay, we'll be back we're gonna continue this stream this time. You know, gonna be making, okay, we are over this now, so we don't need all of that. Let's reduce that. Good. Before we start a new episode here, and construction, okay, these will be built pretty quick, so, almost built out. That's increased because of the Reichsbahn. There we go. That will help that out. Hello, Bearhurts. Well, maybe it's a bit low. I'm using the same software as I do for, as I'm due for recording the episodes. Same settings. Don't know if it's I'm not near enough to the mic, maybe? Or is it a Twitch thing versus a YouTube thing? I don't know. Okay, well, let's just save this here as well. Okay, and we will start another episode. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4, Waking the Tiger, which is different than Waking the Giant, which is America, but the Tiger is China. So, we currently have a volunteer group down, a pretty big one, down in Spain. We're helping out Franco. Out with, okay. That'll get 2 more civilian factories. And I think we will be about taking them over. Okay, direct ground support, good. Happening a lot faster because of I like formation flying better. Okay, so we squashed them. Well, let's take out this pocket first, and then we'll see about crushing the rest of Okay, joins United Front. Well, actually, it's a quote from Mao or Chiang Kai-shek or somebody actually said, you've woken the tiger or something by Japan declaring war on China. I'm sorry, I forget. I think it's Mao, but maybe it's Chiang Kai-shek or somebody else. But it was one of the Chinese leaders at the time said it's waking the tiger. So, you're waking the tiger or some such thing. So that's why it's called. That's why they went with it. Yeah, I know from the ads, Hind, divisional symbols, and others, they use the tiger as the Indian animal. Though I always hear the Indians not liking tigers, so I don't know. And yeah, I would have thought dragon too, but that's at least the story behind it. Okay, we're gonna wait a few days, and then we're gonna start researching some December 36 oil processing. Okay, well now they're cut off. Rubber processing. Okay, we got plenty of days, so we will see about they will accept. Okay, yes, military intelligence data sharing, 20% off of their experience gain, war support up 10% we'll use. Okay, so we will do that. We're still waiting for the first to come around. There we go. Okay, good. So that means we can come over here, start researching that. That and here, this is what we're going to look. Oh, in Waking the Tiger, use a long stick. Okay, that's great. Thanks. Yeah, no, well, at least I don't hear good Chiang Kai-shek quotes. May have had them, but I don't know of any. Well, I keep hearing, and I know you say you like tigers. I keep hearing Indians killing tigers. Maybe because tigers are killing Indians. That kind of thing. But you got to realize, to some degree, one of the first main shogun, Tokugawa, had a pair of tigers painted on some of his main sort of sliding doors. But he nor the artist had ever seen a tiger in their life. They just had seen other depictions of tigers. So to the sort of the, I don't know about all of China, but at least some of China, the northern parts, I think, and Japan, the tiger is almost a mythical being like a dragon. And so that's sort of, I think, the way they view them. Okay, What's oh, you use roll request. Decisions timeout. Propaganda press. Okay. Region-wide integration. Okay. Pause this thing. Okay. We can improve fighters, tactical bombers. Can't spare anything. Okay, we'll go with consumer goods minus for that. And, okay, we'll do that. Economic policy. Okay, we may do that once we get the political power. And here we go. Here. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, so far it's just this guerrilla fighter one, which I'd rather do this one here, improved expert. Not all the prerequisites. So I guess probably a tactic or something I need to research. I haven't looked yet, but I'm planning on doing that instead of guerrilla fighter. Well, I guess I could do both. I know it's not like one of these that it's one or the other. Nah, I'm gonna wait. I don't want to go too low on this right now. Going here so that these guys then can swing around and support each other. At least is my hope. Alright. Doing well. Yeah, that would be. Produce more factories, great. Oh, we're about maxed out there, so let's spread the love a little bit. Oh, that ended quicker than I thought it was going to. How is Japan and China doing? Or how are Japan and China doing? Pretty well. Guess they've just seen this opportunity and raced out there and taken it. The Soviets soon. How is Austria doing? Okay, getting that soon. Okay, we've returned. We're gonna deselect those. Indian National Congress triumphs in provisional elections. In the recent elections, the Indian National Congress has achieved an overwhelming majority in their platform of slow and ordered transition to local government and dominion status in the future. It appears that Indians have rejected the more radical policies advocated by Gandhi, who had argued for a total break with Britain and absolute home rule as soon as possible. Now, I know Ads probably disagrees with me on this, and that's fine, and I can still be friends with him. I hope he can still be friends with me. I think that that is a good policy for India. It, you know, would have been, and continued on well after the war. I think it would have been better for India in the long run. Though, of course, I'm not an Indian nationalist or an Indian, so there, I may very well have a different opinion if I was, but from my perspective, that would have been the better thing to do. Okay, we'll give Darian's unit back his G's.
Ihre Befehle? Bereit!
Okay, treaty with that is done, and oh, yeah, I know we're gonna take this. Also, let it fall. Okay. Yes, you're right. Well, I understand what you're saying. That's what happened, but I mean even further and longer than it did happen. Is what I'm sort of to a point. I'm saying staying in a much closer Commonwealth relationship to this day, much closer to what we see with, say, Canada and Australia. And even there, a closer relationship than it is today. I think Britain's made some major mistakes in going to some degree abandoning the Commonwealth and trying to, for the longest time, being part of Europe. I think they really should have tried to keep closer economic and political ties with, shall we say, the former colonies as they, merge into a much more equal relationship. But I would have gone that path, is how I would have gone through. And yeah, I can't speak to whether it hurt Hinduism or not. I'm just not the person to know that well. I know my limitations on what to, what I can sort of, because I can make rational choices. And again, I'm not talking necessarily just about, in 38 or whenever, but British governmental influence is generally pretty good. So that is the type of thing I'm looking at. Okay, yes, we're going to build some black guns to protect some of our industry here. Not too many. We're going to get back to then building more armaments factories. Okay, well, we need more light tanks. Okay, we're not going to build heavies, at least not right now. So yeah, we'll just increase this factory by 2. Yeah. Well, maybe that's two good things. taught you English and united us against united your people against them. Yeah, no, I trust me, I understand that point, and I understand British arrogance that can piss people off. Trust me, I do understand that. I obviously I'm looking at it from an outside viewpoint. I still hold my viewpoints, but I totally respect your disagreement with it. I watched a very good documentary, I think BBC or something, who was sort of headed up by Jeremy Paxton, a British presenter. And he sort of went around to some of the different parts of the former British Empire, including Egypt and India and other places. And we're asking people, and he was doesn't really matter. I think it was Alexandria, but it could have been Cairo, but I think it was Alexandria. He was sitting next to a pool, talking to an Egyptian man. And, you know, well, did the British do anything good for, you know, he asked the Egyptian guy, you know, did the British do anything good for Egypt in its colonial rule? And the guy's sitting across from him at the pool. You know, they're in, you know, comfortable outdoor clothing, not in the pool, but just out by the pool. And, you know, you sort of set up that, you know, that this is a former British colonial sort of club kind of thing that originally had only allowed British people in, no Egyptians. But this is an Egyptian guy there. And, you know, and the club still exists, but it's now predominantly Egyptians. And, you know, the Egyptian sort of thinks for a moment and then says, no, the English did nothing good in Egypt. Well, the guys at a culturally British sort of style country club kind of thing, we would sort of call it country club, we'd sort of call it in America. The guy's wearing European, if you will, if not British clothing. He's speaking English with a somewhat European or somewhat British accent, but a upper class sort of well-spoken English accent. And so even though he's Egyptian, because of his class within Egypt, he is very Anglified. So obviously he thinks highly enough of the British that he's speaking their language and other things. And not just, and I know there are people that watch this channel that say are from Russia or Brazil, and neither of them have been conquered or whatever by the British, and so they've just learned English, but they're still in essence Russians or Brazilians who know English. Where this guy has been somewhat, and I don't know him beyond just this one brief interview, somewhat Anglified in his viewpoints. And so you can talk about, and I'm not going to argue that there weren't a lot of bad things in the British Empire. I'm not going to say that. There were. But there's a lot of bad things going on in history everywhere. And he also interviews Jeremy Paxton for this series, a bunch of several different groups of Indians that live in England. And they are all hooray for the British Empire. The British Empire was great, and they don't like it that it went away. Now these are people, Indians, who for the most part had probably left India before the empire, his family in the past, had left India before the empire had fallen apart, and because they sort of looked at this in the series, and had been sort of like the class of Indians that had lived in Uganda and other parts of the British Empire outside of India. And so these are the Indians that bought into the British Empire, and then when it falls apart, there's some of the ones that move to England. But at least some of these families are still somewhat culturally Indian. And then obviously they're growing up in Britain, and so they're somewhat culturally British as well too. But it's a mixed thing, and I get your nationalism, and I'm not going to argue against that. You know, you may hate me for my views, but I think the British did a lot of good, and they did bad. I'm not going to say they didn't. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword with the British, or with anybody. You can talk Americans. The double-edged sword with America. I think we did well in the Philippines. You can talk to Filipinos who hated that America occupied the Philippines. Okay, Soviets accept German negotiations over the treaty. Very good. So this will help our research technology. That's why I did that then, to sort of get that, so when we get ready to do some of this stuff. Okay. I want to do this region-wide industrial integration. Not already see the German Reich. Oh, what I want to do is building slot. Okay. Let's speed this back up some. Yeah, I understand. I understand your views. I have, and I don't know, I get in one of the, I don't know if it's released yet or not, one of the Hearts of Iron 3 videos recently, when talking about the situation in Northern Ireland, and I got rather emotional for that one. I have mixed feelings there too, regarding the British and things. Okay, we've got through our bonus one, so that plowed through that quickly. That's going to be 40. We're sort of neglecting that currently. Well, we could do some of that and get a better class of thing, of steps. Zorgan class, that looks cool. Ooh, it's too far ahead, so we'll wait on that one then. Yeah, let's jump over here to this. Okay, now let's take a look. So we've got that. That's completed. It's sort of completing out its time. We can now do region-wide industrial integration. So let's building slots and Thurgan. Let's hit that. Do that one. Yes, and that's also the other thing that you're very right there, Ads. That a lot of at least Americans, and I don't know really how much the average British school student is educated now too. It wasn't everything was beautiful and wonderful in India, and then the British or the Europeans, because you also have to really figure the Portuguese first, Then about the same time the British showed up, the French show up, and then the Dutch are also moving around, which, you know, get Ceylon there for a while, Sri Lanka, whatever, which I put as part of Greater India or culture or whatever. And so it's not all perfect, and then the Europeans show up and ruin it all. They have a lot of various invaders coming in via, I think, this way mostly, coming down, and you know, it's not so you know, necessarily so that, you know, all good until the Europeans showed up. Yeah, you're talking. We have right now. Rudolph has the silent workhouse, helping with the political power game. Now that's also similarly, it's often portrayed in American schools and everything that everything was wonderful in you know, Native Americans, and then the Europeans showed up. Well, you know, especially down here in Mexico, they did lots and lots and lots and lots of human sacrifices. There was constant warfare, and at times it was, I think, and I'm not an expert on it, but I think rather sort of genocidal, and sometimes meaning not just, I've killed the enemy warriors and we win. No, it's like killing everybody. And the Indians, the Native Americans, or whatever you want to call them, and I'm trying to specify different than other Indians, but I still call, because of my cultural heritage, we still call these people Indians. Blame Columbus, he thought he made it to India. You know, that's all Columbus is doing. But these Indians here, they practiced slavery well before the Europeans ever showed up. Slavery is not, including in the North American Indians. They also did down in Mexico, down in you know, Peru as well. They very much, up in these Indians up here, practiced slavery, and it was a, you know, ongoing big thing. Now, of course, obviously, the Europeans brought their own version of slavery in, and I'm not saying, you know, there wasn't massacres of Indians. Yes, there were massacres of Indians, but Indians massacred each other before the Europeans ever showed up. So it's not like the Europeans showed up and ruined a good thing. Europeans just came in and joined the party with everybody else. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I agree with all three of those things. There's two sides of every coin. Victor writes the histories, and some things are necessary. Those are all very true in a historical perspective. Yes. Oh, well, that's one thing I think took a while, but with the modern world, and there you sort of got to again credit the British, and through William Wilberforce, however much of a killjoy he was, and he was a killjoy, the drive to end slavery worldwide, which isn't complete yet, but well, things necessary. Well, to say India, to end slavery in North America, you've got to conquer the Indians. You know, you can't just, you know, not, things aren't always equal or culturally valuable. When the Spanish show up in Mexico, they are doing lots of human sacrifices. So if you want to stop that, and I would want to stop that, you know, the main reason I didn't want to, say, just go to war with the Soviet Union or China is because they had nuclear weapons and it would be very, very bad. But I look at the gulag systems and all the mass killings in in China. Yeah, it would have been worth a war if it wasn't going to be a big nuclear war. And so looking back here to end these, you know, lots of human sacrifices, lots, I mean hundreds or thousands at a time, to end those practices, you need to invade and conquer. Yeah. That's the way it needs to go, and it's a terrible shame that it does, but I haven't figured out the human animal, if you will. Oh yeah, oh of course, well, but if you look at the scale of things, how many, I know they used to do that in Scotland a bit, and whatever, burn the witches, but if you look at the scale, and just because your side did it, in some cases, oh yeah, no, the Arabs, they still trade slaves to this day. Your side, you know, whatever side isn't without hypocrisy, meaning ending one mass killings while, you know, ending the mass human sacrifices. I keep getting them confused. These are the Incas, I'm pretty sure. The others are the Aztec down here, but I keep getting which one's which. While you have some of that going on, and or before it, but continuing after it, you have Torquemada and the Jesuits doing all kinds of torture to root out hidden Muslims and hidden Jews within Catholic Spain. So although they are getting rid of one evil, they're still practicing others. So this isn't just the good guys are good and the bad guys are bad. You got to totally know that and understand that about history. When did the Greeks stop slavery? I don't think the Greeks ever stopped slavery until the Christianization enough of the Byzantine empires, and even then, you can argue about slavery of prisoners, including prisoners of war. Okay, could be. Like I say, ads. I get the two confused, and I've had enough courses on them and which one is which. But the northern ones, the ones in Mexico, are the main human sacrificer ones. So yeah, so it's not perfect, because hell, until the end of Sparta, until Rome conquers Sparta always has slavery. Always has slavery. They're called helots. Whole class of people were slaves in Sparta. Okay, Anschluss. Yes, we take Austria. The fall of Nanjing. Let's go look at the current situation out in China. So yeah, so they pushed up and they've got the current previous capital, and they've got the ancient historical capital of China. Okay, well, debt slavery, well, okay, there's debt slavery there, which China practiced, since I'm right over it. China practiced debt slavery up until the nationalists get in power. And that could be generational debt slavery, so meaning if your grandparents had gotten enough debt that they were turned into slaves, your upkeep or your parents' upkeep while they were working would be counting against the bill that they had to pay off as debt slavery. And so that could go on for generations. Well, yeah, it does happen because of labor shortages and other reasons, for various things. It doesn't justify it in my opinion. It's just a historical fact. Okay, so we've got Austria now, which should have, let's look here. So we are doing pretty well. Well, so look at all of these. ICs and military ICs. Great. Okay, very good. So that really boosts our economy now, or will shortly, I think. Austria, welcome to the right. Yes, so now we are heavily boosted up. We're going to need more fuel and rubber. Okay, and then once we get that, now that is good. So now we have Onslaught, which now is opening these up, but we're not going to push there just yet. I think we're going to, well, yeah, let's start this. Well, because that's what happened historically on forbidding. I don't know, though, all of you watching later on YouTube know why do you think the Europeans forbid slavery before the Indians if they left them alone in the Americas? Well, I don't necessarily entirely understand the question, but it was really the push of Wilberforce and his crew, wasn't just him, to end slavery in British-controlled territories, and ultimately his goal, of course, was to try to end it everywhere. And so he gets the push of the British, the Europeans. Well, no, you're wrong about that, Ads. The British, obviously they're not all Europeans. You know, not all of Europe, but basically all of the non-Portuguese Europeans in the Americas. You know, so in this part of the world, all of the non-Portuguese, so meaning Brazil, everywhere but Brazil, European powers forbid slavery at one point, while the Native Americans still practice slavery. Okay, Portugal continues slavery the longest in the Americas, because we have the situation where in the United States you had slavery. It was banned in Britain and the British colonies. It's banned in the French colonies, except for basically, well, Haiti continues to have slavery itself, and I don't know exactly when, or even if theoretically Haiti still doesn't have slavery. That could be debated. And I mean literally owning people in Haiti. It's maybe not as formal as it used to be. But the European colonies, including Spain, but Spain obviously loses a lot of it at the end of the Napoleonic era with the different freedom movements in the Americas, but they banned slavery. Everybody but Portugal, basically, and the United States banned slavery. Now, in the United States controlled territory, this, what is now today called Oklahoma, was the Indian territories. Basically, are heavily populated by Indians from over in this part of the United States that the Trail of Tears, they get forced marched out here. A lot of them die on the way. Because of harsh conditions, disease, starvation, cold, you know, and being forced out, marching for long times. You know, it's all the government's fault. Done mostly under Andrew Jackson. I don't know all the details of it, but I sort of know the basic stories of it. So they get sent out here. Obviously, there's also Indians out here previously. But they get out here. They continue to have slaves, primarily black African slaves. The Indians do. The Indians own black Africans. The black Africans, so some black Africans living in Louisiana own other black Africans. I think in Georgia and South Carolina, if you are black and not a slave, you had to leave the state after. You couldn't be there for less than like 5 or 10 days. So you could visit, if you're a merchant or something, but you couldn't stay as a free black person. Don't know the detail. And so it varies from state to state in the slave-owning South. But in Louisiana, free black people can own other black people. So you have slave owners there, including some major plantations. In other cases, just somebody owning one other person, who has a small cottage industry, who buys a slave to work with him. I mean, it's all kinds of economic levels for black people owning slaves. But you continually, even post the American Civil War and the ending of slavery in the United States, the Indian tribes themselves continue to practice slavery. It's often not called slavery because it isn't a formal document that says I own John Smith. It's that they would raid other tribes and capture people, often women and often children are the primary, but also males of adult or older age, and they were kept as ownership property within it. And that continued on after slavery has ended formally in the United States, but this is still going on in territories that are, claimed by the United States or whatever, but aren't really controlled and governed. Brazil continues to run slavery. Well, I guess it was independent by that time. But Brazil, the Portuguese that moved to Brazil continue formally to run slavery. They get a lot of, or try to get some Confederates to come down here because, hey, you can still own slaves and run plantations. Just leave your hated conquerors and come down and join us down here. But so most of the Europeans end slavery, at least in the Americas. We can talk what you consider occupying various Britain or other places in other parts of the world. Belgium, God, they had slavery basically until the end of the Belgian colonies, more or less. It was, in some of these areas, it was god-awful bad. But that's slavery, yeah. But it's, Belgium didn't have North American possessions. Yeah, I know the general strokes of history, know the big pictures, but I don't know it all in detail like I know World War II or some things. Okay, well, on all this happy note, we're going to end this episode, not the live stream, so you guys don't go anywhere. I want to thank everyone watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos if you would. I really do appreciate that. And, of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions, corrections, because I may be getting some of this history wrong. And if you know it better or want to Google it, please post corrections below. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron. Yeah, that very well could be. I don't know the details of that. I do know they just maintained slavery until after the American Civil War at some point. Brazil was a Portuguese. I gotta stand up and stretch my legs, but so if you're not hearing me, great. Sorry. Portugal maintained control over Brazil, and when Napoleon's army came down to Portugal, the the Portuguese monarchy left and went to Brazil, and then I guess, what was it, the son of the king stays in Brazil, and the Portuguese king says to the son, I forget which ones, hey, if they go independent, you just go with them and try to, you know, be king of Brazil. While he went back to Portugal. So that's my understanding. And of course, the Portuguese were basically the longest primary European colonial powers. They maintained until 1975 their colonies in Mozambique, Angola, and where is it? Guinea-Bissau up here, Portuguese Guinea. And what was it? Adds 1947 when India invaded Gao, and probably mispronouncing that, and Douay, which was up here, I believe, somewhere. Another small Douay, I think, if I'm not butchering it, was the earliest European colony in India. But they maintained that until, I think, at 47, 48, or something like that, and then India invades. And there's some shooting, I think, going on for the invasion. And of course, both Britain and Portugal held on to their colonies of Macau and Hong Kong fairly long. And what's different than, say, Macau and Hong Kong than, say, the Falklands or Gibraltar? Falklands, Gibraltar, these islands basically nobody else lived on but the few British, are, what, nearly 100% British living there, if you will, as opposed to, you know, like Macau and Hong Kong are mostly Chinese ethnics people living there. Oh, 61. Okay. A little bit later than I thought. But I figured you would know. But so these are, you know, colonies over, even though relatively small populations, but populations of a different ethnicity than, you know, the main colonial power. And that does make a difference. As to people wanting to stay or leave, and whether they're colonies or just simply people populating the area and they've held on to the territory. And it is a big distinction. Okay, so now
Angetreten. Angetreten.
No, I just want the non-mountain troops.
Achtung.
Okay. There we go. We get any more officers? Oh, okay. Well, we've got these couple of dudes here. Marco Krishner, Gunther Berglund. I don't think those are real people. Karl Exler is, I believe, a real person. Unless those are supposedly Austrian. Maybe he's real. I don't know. I've not heard of these guys before. Maybe him. Okay. So they show up with other portraits. We have Deedle here, don't we? Name. Doesn't really help, does it? Because I don't know Deedle's first name right offhand. Okay, well. Go back to skill. Well, armor officer and cautious. Well, it doesn't really help much now, does it? Infantry officer, that sort of helps. Okay. Well, we're getting pretty large armies here, aren't we? Which is good. Let's send you guys up to there, so that you can go.
Ihre Befehle? Bereit zum
Select all.
Ausrücken.
And now, I know you can do sort of an add to it, but I don't feel like
Befehle?
that right now. Okay, so that, get those guys covered. Now, gonna form a mountain command here soon.
Ihre Befehle?
That's a mountain guy. Okay, we want all of these. Select all. Edward Deedle. Yes, you're right. You're right. That's very correct. Now that you mention it, you remembered where I did not. Okay. Hungarian border with you.
Angetreten.
Another one, but we're gonna move you to Western Front here.
Ihre Befehle?
And let's give you list, I guess. Okay. There we go. Go back east, and when we get a good armored Rommel will do good. And right, that looks pretty good. Okay, well, let's continue this. Just a second here. Okay, let's start another episode. I have not played any of the modern Wolfensteins, and none of them, when I played that, had a general involved in it. And I played the, well, the very original one on the old Apple II. If that's not the very first version of it, I don't know if an earlier one, but I played the original, basically. That was not a first-person shooter. I'm not talking about the one that you would actually, you look down the barrel of the gun. I'm talking about the very early Wolfenstein. That's how far back I go with it. But I did also play the first sort of first-person shooter of Wolfenstein as well, too. Okay, we're going to start another episode. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4, Waking the Tiger, and of course we're playing as Germany. So let's continue this here as we're building up the Reich, ready for war. How are we doing on resources and trading? Oh, we're back to needing more. Okay. Put the squeeze on them. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so, yeah, back to needing more of this. Venezuela. Yeah, for now, let's do that. And, both of those. All those extra factories needing to be fueled from Austria. Well, let's look and just see if there's... Yeah, well, we've added a lot to light tanks. So, let's put in... Oh, we've already got these going. Okay, I wanted to make sure we had some. Well, we'll start with transport going. And, okay, so we're well into 38. We've got those, and we need to maybe start, well, we should, before I forget about it, let's, well, we've got a lot of new templates. We'll train one of those right now, get that going. Oh, how did we end up there? That was weird. Okay, you show up there. Now back to this question here. Waiting for those two to happen, but not yet. Okay, we could push ahead now and get that. Yeah. Let's go for that. And we put those into production. Yes, I am producing some naval bombers. I love naval bombers. Right here. Okay, and we've improved our radar. Conversion, well, we may be doing some of that, but no, stop. Let's push ahead on that. And more factories. We're producing all more factories. Producing a lot more now that we got Austria, and Austria is well developed. Okay, that'll get that going, and we have enough here. That these will come, but let's get I like the agility and max speed. I just like that, so we'll go with that. Problem, but we have this, and we're going to do okay. You can't absolutely can't risk any leaks. Air experience gain. I'll let it happen. Okay, well, these we probably should have done earlier, but let's get the signal company going. Yeah, that ain't a lot. Okay, well, when we can, we'll see about doing better conscription, I guess. Okay, good. Behind on tank production or something? No. Okay, get another one there. And gross round rich shaft, sorry. Completed. So we can start working with these guys, but let's take liquefaction. That will help with that. Airline invasion. Army innovation. That would be very helpful as well. Quite ready for that. Yeah. 7 days. Let's look at Czechoslovakia briefly here. There's our C. So here, so there. Don't know what kind of other stuff they may have, but doesn't look like they are building too much there. So yeah, let's pursue the Man Sudeten lands. About that time anyways. How is China doing? Japan and China. China still exists. Okay. Now, we could do this here with them. That would be interesting. Send attaché. Oh gosh. Okay, well we have that, and okay. Well, they will not accept. Oh. Okay. they won't accept our military attaché. Oh, okay, thanks for that information. Didn't know that. Maybe we will have time for that, or maybe not. I don't know. Well, they shouldn't be asking for... Well, I don't know what the national focus is, but historically that wasn't until 1940, but still. Up our radars here. Trying to build things that don't require too much fuel or rubber. Yeah, it's a good idea. We can improve our relations for a while. Computing machines, great. So now we can do this. I want to go decryption first. Okay, oh, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so it'll take a while to get them to get over to being fascist as opposed to whatever this non-aligned political party is. They don't listen to me, of course, but hey. And again, best to keep those as long as I can. There was some talk that they're going to nerf these out a bit, but we'll see if that happens or not in regular. Okay, well, let's do that. That will increase our recruitable population. Okay, 4th International. Okay. So Munich Conference. France gets an alliance. We get WtT and land, they move out. Munich Agreement. Okay, well, we will take your advice. I will be smart and listen to advice, so we will do that. Because we now have more factories from here. Look at that, 3 military and 2 ICs and 1 military. Okay, that's very good. go.
Bereit zum Ausrücken.
Because we are going to not necessarily be able to trade as much as we would like, we will build some of those. Oil refineries. Well, let's look at our current. I think yes, and I probably should expanding the army, or motorize things. Okay, well, what I'm going to do now is this one. We're going to start another tank production. Put 4 there. And once we get this, we're going to switch it over to that. Just 8 days, but
Angetreten.
there we go. And this one here. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer than that, but put that over. And yes, now we need more oil. Get in from too far away, don't we? Need to back to the Dutch East Indies. Right there. Rubber. Oh, we also need more. Okay, Sweden. Okay, we're about pushed out on that. Well, go with Portugal. Okay, well, that's tempting, but no, not just yet. Let's come over here and add maintenance companies. What is our Navy doing? Okay, a lot of destroyers. Destroyers, okay. Let's cut back on. Let's just change it. Let's go with light cruisers. Oh, well, let's actually, hold on. Let's just plus that to 1, so finish that one off. Yeah, we'll wait till that finishes off. Okay, hunt and destroy, good. Might as well continue to push here right now. Yes, those are almost done as well. Armored spearhead. And yes, push. Just before starting this stream here, I was playing Hearts of Iron 3 for that series, and I must say I do like the way 3 handles these better. So once you get the tech, or the doctrine here in this case, you can improve it over time. So you do Sureplunk better, or you do, you know, Armored Spearhead better, if you will. Okay, align Romania. So you do it better. You have gradient levels of it. It's not whether you have it or not. You have it. Plus, then you can do better at it over time. Logistics company, military police. Or what we need to do, and I've sort of been neglecting this, I think. Oh, way too ahead. Okay. We want that though. Do better invasions. Okay. Well, we're almost here for some of the 39 stuff. So, let's see if we have a shorter sort of window here for something. Yeah, but I don't want to waste it there. Well, we'll just wait. We may end up wasting a few days, but not much. Okay, so we've gotten Romania pushing towards us there. This will help us with some nations and hurt us with others, so 7 others. So let's go with... Hello, Arno. How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, anti-Comintern pack. Yes, we do have them. We have several of them. Arno is our newest one. But he's really a nice guy. Yeah, we're just... Oh, we have one of these coming due. Okay. Complete that. When we get enough more, I'm going to start heading to our military. How is Japan doing? Oh, they've united their sort of fronts, and they've done another naval invasion, it looks like. Either that or it got cut off by another naval invasion. Very good for them. Okay, yes. No, I don't think Arno. At least I hope not, and so far we haven't. That whole thing last week was a real sort of problem, and it was something to do with the ISP, which took 2 phone calls and a fair amount of time to finally get straightened out. But it was later that day that I did finally get it straightened out, but it was like 4 or 5 hours later. Ah yes, St. Patrick's Day. All kinds of people claim St. Patrick. He was a British man, I would say. And I'm using that term very specifically, British. And who was captured by the Irish as a slave. We were talking about slavery earlier, those who just showed up or are watching later. Captured as a slave by the Irish, and then eventually gets back to Britain, becomes a Christian, and sort of an educated Christian, shall we say. He was of educated elitist sort of background of some sort. We don't know a whole lot about. I say people, various people claim St. Patrick, because he was a Briton, which, in sort of modern terms, sort of means Welsh, but not quite necessarily from the people of Wales. But he could have been a Briton from what is in today's Scotland, but probably more likely from this part of Britain, not England. The English weren't even really there yet. He was a Briton. And then he later goes back to Ireland to bring Christianity to Ireland. Okay, we're going to build even more tanks. I like tanks. Okay, we have enough that we can now if we'd done that earlier, it would be worth a lot more division training time. Don't know if I'm going to have time to... I like speed. We'll go with brow hitch. Oh, let's increase these guys a bit. There are some focuses to do that. Oh, and we can now do this. That's a little bit wasted. But I really wanted to get over here and do this as efficiently and as fast as possible. Hello, Bobby Wan Kenobi. No, don't know specifically why I have more than you. I'm playing just the vanilla Waking the Tiger, going through it. Other than watching over when I, put this up on YouTube, you can see what I'm doing if there's anything different versus yours. Yeah, well, I don't have huge numbers. Okay, there's 67, there's 53, there's 9, and there's 10. And, what's that? Oh, those are ships. Yeah, so it's a bit more than 100, true, but, well, there's 12 here. So, a bit more than 100, like what, 100 and, well, let's just see if we can grab this. 44 divisions, then what's in these armies here? So, and all that. So yeah, it's quite a few, but not huge numbers. Well, yeah, I'm probably, I'm presuming that I'm making equipment and training them up. I have currently surpluses on everything, so I haven't been spamming, because sometimes when I see people play, they'll put huge numbers of divisions in training and not have the equipment to supply them. Yeah, I can see that. And which, in fact, we should probably be increasing. I'm going to increase panzers and mountains and airborne. So let's add a panzer division. Add a won't let me do that. Okay, for some reason it won't let me do that. Okay, because of this group's brigade or something. Not enough. Oh, special forces cap. That's right. It's now special forces, so it won't let me go too large on that. I knew that, but wasn't thinking in those terms. So we'll do that. Now we don't have much experience, unfortunately, so I do want to add more to the template. So if we come up to here, no, not that. No, cancel that. I didn't mean that really. Here's what I meant to do. We can see about throwing on a reconnaissance company and anti-tank support. Now, do we have enough of that equipment? Okay, not enough anti-tank, but we'll do that now. And that, what we'll do here is come over here and well, we are producing a lot more, so let's, as time goes on, we'll just add them all to towed anti-tank. And generally speaking, I would not recommend too much to start wars early. There are reasons. Trust me, I know. They do a lot of play balance, and for this game, and this is really heavily meant to be historical at, you know, the start in 39, you know, late 39, to have roughly similar sort of balances. Now they may have fewer numbers of divisions than historically or whatever, but it's really sort of meant. Some nations like this has way more than they did historically, but they really try to get it so that it's balanced out between the players in a historical manner. So they really work on that. Well, first Vienna award, that will get us likely in Hungary to one degree or another. Okay, nothing out there. Z plan here without carrier facilities. That's very tempting, of course. Well, we're in January 39. We need the West Wall. Let's go with West Wall. We don't need it immediately, but we will be needing it. So. Yes, well, we do have the anti-Comintern Pact. I don't know if we're going to do that. We may very well come down to the Ribbentrop Pact instead. That's probably what we're going to do. Yeah, we'll see about that. I want to get this built as well. I want to do all kinds of things. Okay, yes, we've seen a massive fascist increase in Spain, or in Romania so far. Why did I say Spain? I don't know. But they're appointing a pro-Allied government right now. Here, so they're going this route, opposed to this route. Okay, now I think our last destroyer is now completed, so we're going to come for light cruisers. But light cruisers. Okay, and this we're going to start. How many ships? Fair amount of transport. Battle cruiser. Actually, we'll reduce that by 1. That started in production as well. I don't know. Let's see where the Ostwall. Okay. Any country must be true. So Tartu, Peskov, Minsk, Kiev. Now this is we've got to be much further east, because we're talking about Kiev and Minsk. Here's Kiev, obviously. Minsk is up here. So this is creating a sort of like winter's coming for the Soviets. Let's, you know, let's get back to a wall of some sort is what that is. They did sort of build a little bit of some of that stuff, but nothing too significant historically. Nothing like the West Wall or the Atlantic Wall. Nothing to that scale. The Dnieper River? Yeah, partially. I'm lousy with river names in Russia, figuring out which one's which. Obviously, if you watch the Hearts of Iron 3 series, we have the nice mod that gives us river names. And that is very convenient. Okay, we've got maintenance companies, good. Now we're going to come over here and expand here. Construction, speed, expanding, factories, whatnot. And our west wall. So now we have a west wall. Oh, and somebody wants to join the Axis. Romania. Well, great. So it's level 3 here. And what is it over here? Level 3 behind the Rhine. Okay. Well. Fight to faction. They will accept. So now we have Romania. We'll see how that affects things. And we have our west wall. We will consider doing that soon, but I think first we will do the first Vienna award. I don't know how this will work out now that Romania is in our faction. Okay, and Yes, we will let them in. Yeah, we probably do need to upgrade submarines. Research. No, we're already here, and we haven't got yet to the 1940s. So no, it isn't really time for new submarine type. Not yet. Oh, this is pulsing red. Yes, do that. Make sure we got, well, improve our radar, but I think what we're going to do here is come and improve our artillery. Give the access if you give. Okay, well, too late now. Sorry, you can't take off a thing. So we'll see how this goes. If they leave, they leave. We'll see. Like I said before, I have not been playing the betas as much as I should be. Obviously, I can't talk about being in there, but I just am saying that I haven't been a dutiful tester. So. Dispersed industry, very good. So that helps. Now we'll come over here and improve the anti-tank guns. And okay, air superiority. Air experience gain or bad weather penalty. I prefer air superiority. Goering is not the best leader for, let me pause this, for the Luftwaffe from an organizational sense. He has no real staff training. He did lead the Stoffel or whatever of the Flying Circus after the Red Baron, at some point after the Red Baron gets killed. I don't know if immediately or there was somebody in between it. So he definitely has that experience, but he basically has very little modern flying experience. And so that also means he doesn't, Goering doesn't have a lot of, you know, combined air operations experience. The idea of how best to keep fighters with, you know, close air support, you know, the Stukas versus the, you know, various tactical bombers. He doesn't have a lot of that experience, so he's not the best on that end. But what he is very good for the, historically for the Luftwaffe is he was such a high-ranking military figure within Nazi Germany. In fact, he's the #2 person, and as they say, historically, if you will, if you want to put stars on it, Goering was the only real 6-star general ever created. You could sort of say George Washington was also, but that was about 200 years after his death. Because Hitler as Führer, and when he replaces Hindenburg, you know, as part of all that, he becomes head of the military. After the fall of France, Goering is made Reichsmarschall, which is not, because he'd already been like Air Marshal or Field Marshal in the Air Force, or however you want to say that. But he becomes Reichsmarschall, which actually puts him above the OKW, which is, the OKW is the thing that's supposed to be, not necessarily was, but was supposed to be overseeing all the armed forces. So it goes Hitler, Goering, then the OKW, and then each service branches, you know, the OKM, the OKL, the OKH below. So that's the ranking structure. So him as the second ranking military person in Germany, as well as such a very high ranking. He is Speaker of the Parliament, and I think he continues that. I know he was that for quite some time, and I think he continues that as well. And so long, and I don't know if Prussia ever officially disappears, but he is the president of Prussia, the leader in Prussia early on. So he's also very high up in the political structure within National Socialism. So with all of that, I'll get to reading what you guys are saying. I know you're saying a lot, but I want to get through this. He has a lot of influence. So because he has all this influence, he makes sure, sometimes for bad, but often for good, to make sure that there's a lot of resources for like aircraft production. Now sometimes some of his decisions that he makes are bad decisions, but because of his power levels, there are lots of resources flowing to the Luftwaffe. Where with the Kriegsmarine, you don't have that. You don't have somebody who's politically connected leading the Navy. Raeder is a decent surface admiral, I believe, and a decent administrator of the naval forces, but he doesn't really understand or put enough value on the submarine forces. Donitz is a great guy for organizing up the subs, but neither of them are really politically connected. So they don't have this constant access to Hitler and getting the priorities that Goering does. So Goering, in that sense, and this is why when I rework things, I make Goering probably the best guy to run the Luftwaffe because of his access, not because he's the best sort of general. Early on, the best leader functionally is Weber. He's really good, but he dies in an airplane crash very early on. And Ritter von Grimm, he's the last head of the Luftwaffe for what? Oh, I don't know, maybe 30 days or something like that. He gets once Goering surrenders, you know, he's found out, I guess, to be negotiating through the Swiss to try to negotiate some sort of something with the Allies, and Hitler finds out about it and you know, orders arresting of Goering or something. But Goering then, you know, surrenders over to the Western Allies. Von Grimm, who's in Berlin at the time, it gets him put in charge of the Luftwaffe, and what's her name? The pilot, a woman, Hannah Reich, actually. I believe it's in a Friesler Stork, but in one of the little airplanes, I think it's a Friesler Stork, flies out along the main sort of street in, which they had to cut down a few extra trees, in Berlin as the Soviets have surrounded the city. She flies Ritter von Grimm out of, as basically the last flight out of Berlin. This is after Tempelhof Airport has been at least cut off from the bunker situation and where Grimm and Hitler were. But she flies him out of the center of Berlin to leave to then take over the Luftwaffe for less than 30 days. Or something like that. I think it's maybe like 10 or 15 days between him getting out and the Germans surrendering. Okay. Okay, and I'm not disagreeing with sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name well. Adds that you do have other people running the show of administering it. Now, I'll entirely agree that he's more of a figurehead in a daily operational sense, but he isn't a figurehead in that at times early on with planning for the Sea Lion, Goering refuses. Just, no, you don't get to use it to Hitler's face. No, I'm not having the 7th Flieger Division be part of, you know, the invasions. Not right now. Not until I see the plan work. See, he can refuse Hitler to his face about having his airborne units participate in the Sea Lion operation. He can order tactics being used of because so many Stukas were being shot down over Britain because it's a slow aircraft and shouldn't be used over Britain, but they were using them over Britain. So he orders for every squadron or Staffel or whatever of Stukas, you'll have 3 of fighters of Messerschmitts, one to go in first, another squadron to stay right with the Stukas as they operate, and the 3rd squadron to hang out above them to jump anybody who comes. So he does have more than figurehead power, but I will grant you that he's not daily running it, where a figurehead is somebody who just sort of is figuratively in charge of it, but doesn't have the power. He has the power. He really does have the power. But I agree with you. He's a better politician. He's a better businessman or industrial organizer. He's doing other things a lot more. Haha, that's interesting. I haven't heard them dying off like that. Okay, so he was, I don't know whether, I'm presuming that's a soft J, and I don't know if I've consciously heard, yeah, Kronex? Yes, Kronex? I don't know how you would pronounce that. Was Walter. Now, Walter Wever, he was a very good administrator, and he was an army officer that converts later in life and becomes a good pilot, but never like a fighter pilot, over to the Luftwaffe. But he's a proponent of strategic bombing. And strategic bombing was shown in World War II to not work well. And the only thing that saves strategic bombing in America ultimately is the atomic bombs that, because you look at how much effort was put in, particularly into Germany, but also into Japan, that, the American bomber guy, Bomber Harris is popping up in my mind, but Curtis LeMay, that's it. Curtis LeMay. He was the proponent of strategic bombing and continues so. The only thing that really saves it in America, because they do a massive post-war analysis of bombing and its effects in Germany during the war, and they decided that it really wasn't worth the cost that they put it on. So even if Germany could have matched the U.S., and they couldn't have, but if they could have matched the U.S. in the strategic bombing levels, it wouldn't have been as effective as the tactical air force that Goering and others wanted. And that is a really important part. So Germany's air force, particularly when it comes time for going after Britain, is not prepared, is not equipped to fight a long-range battle. Just isn't. Their fighters are short-range fighters. They have very short times over London. They just don't do well in that kind of thing. But as a tactical air force, it is very good. And Wever, yeah, you're right, Curtis LeMay. That it's a very good tactical air force, and that's what it's done for. And had Wever lived, he might not have had as good of a tactical air force. So, but we're going to go for air superiority and advanced machine tools. Great. Okay, we got these. We'll see about coming for these at some point, maybe even right back here, but I'm looking at, let's do this. And we're going to end this episode, not the stream, just the episode. So, I want to thank everyone on YouTube for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. If you would, it really does help out the channel. And hey, if you haven't already, go on to Twitch, Facebook, some other thing I haven't heard of, maybe in some other country, and post how much you like this series or my channel or something else. I'd really like to grow the channel more. That's really would help out. So if you could do that, love to see more people on the channel. So, and of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, corrections. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron. Did that perfect time with the music, if you heard, as it was wrapping up. Well, Wever was a better organizer commander than Goering was. And so he was a proponent of the what they called the Ural bomber, you know, to be able to have a bomber come out to Urals. Now, part of the whole thought behind things was that the war was going to start in like 42 or 43, and this was even known back 36, 37. And so Wever's looking forward to building a big bomber to be able to do that. And Wever is wanting a strategic air force. Now, what I'm saying is strategic air forces are not the war-winning organization. They are a war-affecting organization, which is different, meaning because of the Allied bombings in Germany, they definitely affect Germany's ability to produce things. They affect it heavily, but they never stop it, because as the war gets later and later and later, at least up until mid, July, August 44, Speer is increasing things like tank production, fighter production, and other things. It is only really at the latter parts of 44 and into 45 mostly it's cutting off of resources, good iron ore particularly, but other resources, things that come under the heading of rare materials in Hearts of Iron 3, but some of these chromium, steel, tungsten, aluminum, cutting off some of these sources is what's really limiting production for Speer more than the Allied bombing. So it's that you can't get the resources. Now, part of that is you're absolutely right. You got to have that air superiority, or the blind bombings of the night, but even then you're still losing a lot of stuff that the British tried to do. And the main reason the British were as successful as they were is because they alternated with the Americans for night and daylight bombing in combination. And sure, you can't really, and they do fairly effectively cut off railways, not just to Normandy, because they don't want to point out Normandy as the target, but they really do sort of cut off railway links by hitting bridges and railroads enough to this part of France, and maybe Belgium or whatever. But that's a more limited distance, and able to strike with, down to, fighter bombers, lightweight stuff, and as well as with regular fighters just strafing trains and that kind of thing. So you're able to do that and affect it greatly here, but you're not able to, you're able to damage the railway network system, and they did, but it's repairable and it's reroutable. It's not, something that's going to, you're ain't going to be able to bomb it enough that the railways go away. No. So you can disrupt things, but you don't shut them down. And under Speer, and this is as the war is progressing now, Speer is doing all kinds of different things, but to increase production, he's building underground factories. So not only are they, some of the times they're taking the actual same machine tools from an above ground factory and moving it underground. So it's just simply moving location. But they're tunneling out, they're setting up power situations, because basically all modern production requires power. So you either need to have an existing coal burning normally, because they blow up some of the dams that are hydroelectric, but coal burning factories to create electrical power and other things. And they're putting these underground, and they're even building new power generation underground. And so he's able to build all these expensive underground stuff and still increase German production while Curtis LeMay and crew are bombing the hell out of Germany. So he's able to increase production. Now, also his increasing production is simplifying production and changing production methods and other things too. But so you're doing all that, and Germany's tank production, Germany's aircraft production still goes up as bombing levels increase. It is only really the combination of the bombing and, you know, because if you're starting to look into late 44, you're starting to lose, you know, Romania. You're losing, you know, so much partisan and other activities. You're losing resources from down in here. You've already long since lost all of the resources you were getting in this part of Russia. You're eventually losing the resources coming out of Hungary, you know, like the aluminum and whatnot here. And so you're losing all these resources, and you're also losing the high-quality steel coming out of Sweden, because at some point, and I don't know exactly when it is, Sweden just says, oh, we're not sending anymore, because they're not really in favor of the Nazis. They don't want to have the Allies pissed at them. So once it's sort of militarily safe and sure that, I'm not exactly sure on the date, but at some point Sweden just stops sending it. But even before Sweden stops sending iron ore to Germany, at least during some of the winters, the Allies are sitting out here starting to sink some of the transports with subs. I think mostly the British doing it there. But they're doing some of this stuff, so you're constraining production by as much by losing territory and losing access to territory as you are by destroying cities. Now, of course, as you destroy the factories and the cities and all of that, you are reducing production abilities. So it has an effect. The other major effect is like putting up anti-aircraft guns, or like as we're going to be seeing as we're playing, I know many of you are watching my Hearts of Iron 3 series, all the flak towers that Germany's building around the cities, and all these other infrastructure, building all of the various Würzburg and other radar systems around Germany. That all takes effort, and it's because radar isn't like this. You know, you don't put down one radar and it's all this territory. It's many series of many little ones. They just, you know, to build all these little ones, of course, would just be a somewhat of a nightmare to, you know, have to game out. So you just have bigger ones that represent more little ones. But instead of building all these internal ones, you would build more that are just on the coast and looking, you know, tactically in. But because they're coming in with the bombers and then the fighter escorts to the bombers, Germany is having to put a lot of resources, including manpower to man the anti-aircraft guns, manpower to clean up the rubble, manpower to help control the population. So you're shifting resources that are useful away from other things, because all those anti-aircraft guns, whether they be the 20 millimeter, the 37 millimeter, or the Flak 88s, or up to the 128 millimeters, is about as big as they normally get for practical things. All of that production, and in fact some of those guns, would have been lovely anti-tank guns out in the field to kill Soviet T-34s or American Shermans, and also all of the like 20 millimeter and 37 millimeter anti-aircraft guns would have been lovely to have more anti-aircraft guns out on your divisions in your affecting the tactical situation. So well, Speer, yes, and we can get into it, and I get into a lot of Speer in Hearts of Iron 3 version of the game. And Speer wasn't maybe the wonder worker that he wants to point it out, but again, like I was just saying earlier about Goering and being such a close buddy-buddy to Hitler and have all that access, Speer had that, or even more so. So that is part of why Speer is so powerful, because there's a constant fighting going on within National Socialist Germany on all levels and all kinds of things. Speer has that sort of superpower of being, can drop in and see Hitler whenever he feels like it. If Hitler shows up at the Burghof and wants to eat dinner with Hitler, he'll have a place set for him. No matter who else is it, because normally when Hitler would eat dinner, he would eat dinner with a group of people. And if Speer was there, he would sit there. Now, so whether you invite a couple of generals, or you invite the head of the Navy, or you invite somebody else, if Speer was there and wanted to show up, he would have a place sit for dinner, no matter who else was going on, unless maybe, I don't know, it was some sort of private meeting between him and Chamberlain, or some sort of secret thingy. But otherwise, Speer wants to show up, he's there. Now, that doesn't mean he gets to monopolize the conversation with Hitler, But when you have that superpower of not having to have an appointment to see Hitler, of just sort of, hey, I'm here, you get so much more power and access within National Socialist Germany. So with all that infighting, and then he's trying to organize production and organize steel production and organize, you know, the digging of coal and organizing running of trains and all that stuff, because he has that superpower, if you will, within Nazi Germany. That's why he's so effective. Not maybe because he's so great, but where Todt didn't have that. Hitler liked Todt, Hitler knew Todt, but Hitler wasn't best buddies with Todt. Well, yeah, no, you're right about that ads about his first wife was Swedish. Some Swedes liked the Nazis. You're going a bit far on that Sweden actually liked the Nazis. No, I wouldn't say, you know, some did, but they were. There are plenty of evidence that even in the dark days when it was just Britain versus the Nazis, that there was a lot of active help of Sweden, by Sweden, covertly, to help out Britain. So that's going a bit too far. Mostly a historical path. Bobby-Wan Kenobi, that's sort of a cool name, a screen name. Okay, so that's the thing. So you sort of got to understand. So had Wever lived, well, since the way I would see it, had Wever lived, he wasn't going to be in charge of the Luftwaffe, but he would have been the number 2 man. So his goal of having a heavier bombers probably would have gone down further down the line, but I still think it would have been primarily a tactical Air Force. At least that's my estimation of the situation. So, that's how I view it. Now, obviously, that's a what if. We don't know. Maybe somebody who's a bit more of a Wever expert would know better, but that's how I'm viewing it. Okay, so let's get ready for one more episode here. Okay, yeah, looks good. Yeah. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4. I almost said 3, but Hearts of Iron 4. Waking the Tiger. Yes, I know what I'm going to play, but I just get used to saying things. So we're going to continue this here. We are going down and experimenting with the new German setup. I've been playing mostly Black Ice Hearts of Iron 4, or Kaiserreich, which is very different, of course. Kaiserreich I look at as a completely different game, just on the same basic engine. Okay. Good. Building up. Okay, good. We've got those. We got those. Okay, so let's see. What we're going to do here now is I want to throw on a maintenance company and a signal company. We have the power, and we can do that without. And here, I want to put on an air superior support. We have enough. Yes, we do. Just barely, but enough. That reaches those goals. Now, since we've done that, let's we're adding the different locations. Adding more of that, and we will add another 2 divisions. And we're going to come over here, and where's trucks? Here's trucks. Okay, got that, and let's do that. Need this more, okay. Okay, we've got Sweden nearly maxed out, at least under current conditions. Let's get some more from Portugal for now. And let's increase our Well, Bobby, I don't know. Maybe just I'm too old and don't think computers. I don't think computers will ever be able to answer those kind of questions in that way. What I really though um, do sort of think that you can to some degree is try to do what Paradox is doing, to try to figure out things in this manner. As you know, I'm, at least compared to some people, older. I remember having a conversation with one of the developers of a 3D graphics company, and they were they made a 3D graphics program that was designed to do a walkthrough of a house, like for, you know, if you were going to say put a house on you know, on the market and, you know, sell one, and wanted to be able to have somebody to do a walkthrough to sort of kind of, or if you're trying to design a house or something like this. And I was talking to the guy, and what was his software is, well, you had to design the house and put it together and then render it out, but it was a fixed walkthrough. No, I wanted to be able to walk through, you know, walk through first person. Oh no, you can't do that. That takes too much computing power. I go, well, I want a whole city that you can walk through. I sort of wanted to have a Dungeons and Dragons kind of a game in which you know, was a first-person hack and slash or shoot 'em with a bow sort of game. Oh no, you can't possibly do that because you have to draw the furthest away thing from you to then the closest away thing from you and superimpose it on. I had this guy explain it to me. He was one of the developers. And you can't, and I go, well, why couldn't you just draw the closest thing first and then put the other things behind it, and maybe you don't need to get to drawing everything farther away. Oh no, you just couldn't do this. You just don't have the computing power. And this was at Comdex. I don't know if you know what Comdex is or was, but this was when there was one Comdex in Europe per year and there was one Comdex in the US per year. And everybody who was anybody in the computing companies, businesses, was at Comdex at the time. And so it was, everybody was there. And this is what they thought. And you know, how, and they was telling, you know, and I was fairly young at the time. I mean, not super young, but I was fairly young at the time. And, well, you need, you know, even a supercomputer couldn't do that kind of stuff. And you couldn't do that, you know, it'd just be way too expensive. And just, I'm going, well, in the future, well, no, you're just not going to happen. And, of course, the old computer that I've sort of replaced with my new computer kit that I'm using now is better than the old Cray supercomputers by far. And so this new one's even much better. So what I think can be done with computers and what may be able to be done with computers is very different. And again, I may be a bit old in my perspective there. Yeah, so I think computers can do better simulations than Hearts of Iron. The big problem with Hearts of Iron will be the AIs, and so you can always have you know, people playing each country out, and you just work it out there, and you know, work out various things, and you know, how effective bombing sites were, how effective the weather was, and then map all that stuff out, and it can, you know, but you'll never get 100% because once you start changing enough, the human factor comes in. Well, what if things are different? Well, then humans are going to do different things. Okay, so let's continue here. I hope you watching on later on YouTube enjoy this. Do note, if you may need to zoom in down here in the corners where you should be seeing the text that the people are pointing here. And I would like feedback, you on YouTube later, whether you can read the text or whether I should make it stay on the screen longer. Or not. Or whatever, if you want to try to follow along on these conversations when we are doing you know, both live and later. Yeah. About surrounding troops. Okay, so we have Rommel's oversized super corps, our army. I really want them to add more layers. I love that we've got layers. I love that we now have command structures. I just want more layers. And then, of course, I want divisional commanders. Now, if we can, and I quite honestly haven't looked at it, and I don't know if anybody has. Oh, pause these things. Okay, Czechoslovakia returns southern Slovakia to Hungary. Okay. Italy pursues closer relations with Germany. Hungary demands southern Slovakia. First Vienna Award. Okay. Asked to join faction from Italy. Okay. We will accept in Italy into our faction. Yeah, Arno. Well, I know the people who Beamdog, the people currently working on Baldur's Gate, have made some mobile versions of the old Baldur's Gate, which I'm slowly going to be playing for the channel. But currently, under the current computing powers of any of the mobile, tablets or smartphones, just aren't there now. Like I'm saying, I'm not saying it won't be someday, as computing power gets better and better and better. But and I think I know all this in an open source version. It just those who know what it takes to have this game run. It's just not a practical with what's going on. So yes, we can align Hungary right now. That's cool. Well, let's wait a bit. Let's just wait a few days. I'm not going to do something else. Let's just wait to see if Hungary with the Vienna Awards coming up here. But maybe they won't happen because we got that from the Vienna Award, but the second one, of course. Well, I guess because they're already in our faction. Okay, so not going to happen that way. Let's see if we can get in Hungary this way. Okay, we're building anti-aircraft guns, which are good. I want to be able to look down into the Mediterranean and northern. Oh, come on. And look out over Poland effectively, so we'll do those. They'll build pretty quickly. Yeah, I know we do the Vienna Awards, but it could be the conditions for this one to fire could be that Romania is not in faction in the Axis. Okay, sure, Plunk. Great. And then Blitzkrieg, proper Blitzkrieg, which enables breakthroughs. Like I say, these are building fast, so yes, because we expanded our factory building capabilities. Okay. Now we'll shift that over to anti-aircraft gun improvements. How is Japan doing inside of China? Well, still pushing. Surprised they haven't got this. I understand the Red Chinese, they've got a lot of bonuses and whatnot to hold out there well. And forts and things, but a little surprised they haven't got that done yet. Nope, we're getting close there yet. As long as you can until I think the war starts, you want to keep the MIFO bills going. I think by now, though, the British are no longer fooled by the idea that Germany's rearming. So eventually that should have probably sort of, I don't know, no longer be a thing. Okay, so yes, 39, so we can do that, but already got that in production. Yeah, let's do the MP38. Well, maybe this will make Romania stronger. And since they're in my faction, maybe they won't have to give up Bessarabia. That won't be forced to do that, so that'll, you know, one river further closer invading the Soviet Union would be helpful. Now what I want to do here is, okay, we got 500 medium tanks, so let's take a look at our armored division here. Let's convert this to medium tank. Do we have enough? I know we have enough of that, but if we have enough medium tanks. Okay, we need 800, we have 500 available, but we're not going to war for a while, so let's just do this. That will also sort of, we will, by coming over here and looking, we need more. I already knew that, but I might not know that. Later on, we'll increase our production there. And we need more tungsten. How can we get it from? Pause. Well, Portugal's good for now. Isn't a problem now. Okay, Pax Americana. Align Hungary. Good. And Hungary wants to join the faction, or is able to be in the faction. They will accept. So let's get Hungary. Okay. So now we have that. Now we're going to come over here, I think. If you got any, I'm thinking Fate of Czechoslovakia next. Unless some of you, and I'll give you a moment or two to, you know, there's a delay between what I say and what you can hear and then type. I'll give you a moment to do that. I know we can't integrate economies, and that will be nice eventually. You see all that, that'll be great. Like I say, we're going to, but I think Fate of Czechoslovakia is the best next one, so once I pick it, I can't undo it. That's afterwards. No objections? Okay. No, not yet. Eastern claims. All that does is give me Memel up here, which is nice and does start down the road of you know, getting Danziger War. And okay. No, okay, I won't even go there. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I have to be very careful what I say on some things. Even though it's, I would say, meaningless to whether I said them or not, but I'm going to do that, not do that. So we're going to go Fate of Czechoslovakia. You don't even know what I was going to say, or what the topic was going to be. But no. So Fate of Czechoslovakia. Just some of the stuff I've got to be careful with. That'll get us all these Czech capabilities. Okay. And constructions improved. Great. Which will allow us to improve resource excavation, I should say. That's another. Yeah, that's if they do, but they're not going to be taking Lithuania, I don't think, until we take Poland down. So, I don't think it's going to happen. At least I don't. Well, that's just changed much more radically than I know. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Okay, High Command. So we basically unlocked everybody. We're mostly, and Germany very much was, still mostly an infantry army, so we're doing this one first. What province? What province? I really don't like fully filling up the province. And we're going to build even more tanks. I like tanks. We'll see what we're going to do with Yugoslavia. Not sure yet. And more. We have that upgrade. Okay. Yeah, more factories. I think we've pushed towards tanks enough for the moment. Yeah, pretty comfortable. Lots of fighters, lots of transport planes are enough, I hope. Well, we are building para-divisions, so let's build a few more transport planes. Do 2 more factories for that. And we need... can, more. Might as well get it while we can. Well, let's get it from Mexico. And with our additional research slot. Okay, we're September 39. Now let's look here. We can start doing some of these. Well, let's do reconnaissance. We're building up a pretty good army. I'm feeling pretty comfortable about this. Mifo bills. Hey, what do you know? It's the Mifo bills. How'd I guess? And more resources, great. That is very good. Let's do that. And more naval. I'm used to building so many more different things with black ice. Yes, we'll do that. I do like that you have the ability to focus either rubber or oil. Or you can do both, like we're doing both, because Germany needs both. But like the US should have plenty of oil. Should. I haven't looked at it in detail, but it should need rubber. Okay. Let me put this aside for the moment. Since we're going, we're going to historical, we're going to set this up and do it historical. It just should keep the world, because if we do this, it costs more for the power, but also I think there's more other bad things. So yeah, we're going to set up Slovakia. It's not a big deal either way. But we got that, and we're going to put the squeeze on them still. Okay. And now, well, let's give it a day or two. See if anything pops up. Okay, Beta Czechoslovakia. So now we have them as our puppet. They even have an armored division. Wow. Oh, good. Okay. Well, you know, guys, my throat's getting a bit tired, so I think we're going to end both the episode and the stream here. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos, and please post questions, comments, suggestions, corrections. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron. And everybody on Twitch also, thanks. It's been really fun. Really enjoyed talking with you. I really love the idea that we can talk back and forth and not just one way, but I do sort of need to take a break. Because I made a few episodes of Hearts of Iron 3 before this, so maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. So, thanks so much for watching on Twitch. Have a good day. Or a good evening.